Hi there, this is my second video response to VenomFangX's video series called Satan Invented Evolution. In my previous video, we were left off at the 6 definitions of evolution, and in this video, we'll be talking about VenomFangX's arguments for discrediting the Big Bang Theory. This will include the little bit from his first video and the first half of his second video. Anyways, let us begin. VenomFangX started by saying that both the Big Bang Theory and the God Theory has a problem with unlimited regression. This is not his exact words, but this is what he meant. He said if you go back far enough, eventually something has to be eternal. And in case of the Big Bang Theory, the universe is eternal, and as for the God Theory, God is eternal. He then comes around and says that both ideas are religious, to which I assume that he meant that both are based on unfounded grounds. Well, this is simply not true. The idea of eternal universe is not just put out of someone's ass. The idea of an eternal universe is based on the first law of thermodynamics, which states that matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed, but can be changed from one form to another. This law has never failed us, not once. I mean, nobody has ever been able to create energy from thin air, nor is anybody able to completely destroy matter. So, based on that, it is reasonable to assume that everything we see around us has always been here, but existed in one form or the other. This is far from saying that this idea is religious and based on nothing. On the other hand, the arguments that VenomFangX gave for believing in the God Theory is kind of shaky. Basically, it's the arguments from design. He said that I see the world around me that cannot be formed by blind chance, spontaneous regeneration, and all the gibberish that is in a textbook. I just have two things to say. First, the arguments from design is a weak one. For time constraint reasons, I will not go into right now. Next, he mentions blind chance, to which I assume that he is referring to evolution. And again, like I said, the mechanism for evolution is natural selection, and natural selection is far from being blind chance. Next, he did some reading, so let us read together. Okay, this is my desktop. I'm recording this using a program called Extantdodo, which is an excellent piece of free software that I can recommend for everyone. This is, by the way, not the original video, but a still image that I've opened with GIMP so that I can do things like this. And I'm going to play the audio using Winamp. Anyways, let us begin.
Let's do some reading together. This is in a textbook that our children read. In the realm of the universe, nothing really means nothing. Wow, that's deep. Not only matter and energy would disappear, but also space and time. However, physicists theorized that from the state of nothingness, the universe began in a gigantic explosion about 16.5 billion years ago. Wow, an explosion from nothingness. Yeah, that's science. No, that's a fairy tale. Can you believe they cut down a tree to print that?
Okay, where do I start? There's just so many things wrong here. Okay, first of all, he said, yeah, that's science. And that's it. That's the full extent of his argument. I mean, he doesn't explain why it is ridiculous. He simply states that it is. And that's it. Okay, I'm going to replay the clip. Listen to it carefully. Pay close attention to his argument, or rather, his lack of argument.
Let's do some reading together. This is in a textbook that our children read. In the realm of the universe, nothing really means nothing. Wow, that's deep. Not only matter and energy would disappear, but also space and time. However, physicists theorized that from the state of nothingness, the universe began in a gigantic explosion about 16.5 billion years ago. Wow, an explosion from nothingness. Yeah, that's science. No, that's a fairy tale. Can you believe they cut down a tree to print that?
Did you hear that? Yeah, that's science. I mean, is that really an argument? Can you really use that in a court of law? Can you really say that, Your Honor, my opponent's position is, yeah, that's science, and that's it? But let us assume that it is a valid argument. Let us critically analyze these arguments and deconstruct deconstruct it formally. So there are a lot of problems here. Firstly, he is making a lot of false and unstated premises. He is assuming that it is self-explanatory that something is ridiculous, even though the property of ridiculousness is subjective. I mean, something might be ridiculous to you, but it might not be ridiculous to everyone. Secondly, he implies that something cannot be ridiculous and true at the same time. I mean, have you ever read the newspaper or a magazine with a section called Weird Science or Bizarre Facts? Being weird and being true are not mutually exclusive. But even if they are, there's still something very wrong here. I mean, take a closer look. What is he criticizing? He's criticizing this sentence, nothing really means nothing, and this, explosion from nothing. What are these? These are conclusions. These are not premises or inference to conclusion. In the science of argumentation, it is simply useless to criticize conclusions for the reason that I just stated. Something can be weird and true at the same time. You do not criticize conclusions. You criticize premises or the inference to the conclusion. But there's still something very wrong here. He claims that this text is saying that nothing exploded. You hear him saying it all the time. Nothing exploded. But is it really what this text is telling us? Let us read it together. Let us read it from the top. The text read, if the universe is expanding, then it must have been much smaller. If you could run the life of the universe in reverse like a film, you will see the universe contracting until it disappeared in a flash of light, leaving nothing. In the realm of the universe, nothing really means nothing. Okay, stop. Remember, he was criticizing this. Nothing really means nothing. But is it really that far-fetched? Is this sentence really that dreamy and pulled out of someone's ass? No! Because this sentence is an extension to the previous paragraph, which reads, it disappeared in a flash of light, leaving nothing. This sentence is there to help and elaborate the nothing that is in the first paragraph. The second nothing is further elaborated in the next sentence, which reads, not only matter and energy will disappear, but also space and time. So, if you isolate this sentence and read it on its own, of course it's going to sound ridiculous, but really it is not, because it is elaborated in the text itself. The next sentence, however, physicists theorize that from this state of nothingness, the universe began in a gigantic explosion. Do you see it? From this state of nothingness. But VenomFangX read it differently. Listen to what VenomFangX said.
Theorized that from the state of nothingness.
He said from the state of nothingness, not from this state of nothingness. Okay, what's the difference? What's the difference here? If you say from the state of nothingness, then it really does imply that nothing exploded. But no, this is saying from this state of nothingness, which is referring to a situation in which time and space, of the concept of time and space, are non-existent. What would you call it? What would you call a situation in which time and space is non-existent? How would you explain this to the layman? How would you explain this to students which is taking your class as an introduction course? Well, you will call it the state of nothingness. But does it really mean that nothing is there? That absolutely nothing is there? No, of course not. Matter and energy, which are eternal, is still there, and it is matter and energy that is exploding, not nothing. So every time when VenomFangX says nothing exploded, and he's referring to the Big Bang, he's simply betraying his own ignorance of the Big Bang theory. Okay, to summarize, VenomFangX was very dishonest when he was reading from the text. I mean, he was quote mining, meaning that he was only reading bits of pieces of it, even though the bit of pieces was elaborated in the text itself. Also, he misquoted it. He said the state of nothingness, even though it reads from this state of nothingness. Also, he keeps referring to the Big Bang theory as nothing exploded. or explosion from nothingness, and he uses these two terms interchangeably even though they mean very different things. In any case, it is not nothing that exploded, or it is not the dot that exploded, it is matter and energy that exploded. So every time he uses the term nothing exploded, he's simply using a straw man, which is just another form of dishonesty. Anyways, because of time constraint, we cannot address the first half of his second video completely. In my next video, I'll probably just go straight to static evolution and talk about it instead. Anyways, stay tuned and thank you for watching my video.